Alright, welcome back everybody to Tactics Ogre. We have reached the inner walls of the castle. And now we have to take on...
Traitor to the Resistance! How quickly you forget your debt to the Duke!
the
Your
Duke.
kind of thorns in the heel of progress. How fortunate I bear the perfect remedy. My sword will teach you the right of things.
I know nothing about ancient medieval society. You know, I do know that it was more common for people to wear like some variation of a chainmail or thick leather padding, just because it was a cheaper, relatively decent option at that time over trying to wear full plate armor. A lot of the people who wore full plate armor were some variation of a noble or a knight, you know, so they had money to spare or spend on that type of armor. Obviously there's sort of some of this is there's some exceptions to this, I guess. You know, full plate armor, I'm told, is very rare. However, it wasn't, I have to imagine it wasn't uncommon for a soldier to have some variation of like a helmet, or perhaps like some plate is what I'm trying to get at. I don't know, I'm sort of ignorant to this subject. I do know sort of what I know, which is, you know, from what I've read and what historians have talked about. You know, obviously plate armor being very expensive, had to be fit to the person, so don't gain weight, you know, if you want to fit in your formal plate attire. I did hear at one point, as firearms sort of defeated plate armor like that, one of the things that they would do is they would continue to make helmets, because even if you got, you know, you defeat the plate armor, which is basically you put in a bullet straight through plate, and so there's no point in wearing plate armor if people are going to start switching over to fired weapons that are going to immediately go right through your plate. But one of the things that they would do is they would, you know, because at that time weapons, you know, firearms weren't super duper strong. I mean, imagine if you got close enough, yeah, it'd be a problem, but, you know, they're not terribly strong until you get, you know, a little bit closer to the common, you know, the common day. But you would wear a helmet to obviously try to protect your cranium, which is one of the very important parts of your body if you want to survive. And they, as weapons started getting more powerful, they would make these helmets heavier or thicker or whatever, to the point that it made it difficult for a rider to hold their head up straight because of how heavy the helmet was. And it started to break the backs of the horses that they were riding on, because they just became too heavy with, you know, thicker and thicker, at least helmets. I don't know, there may be even chest armor, to try to defeat the bullet, you know, the firearm. And then at a certain point, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, you know, plate armor's heavy enough as it is. You're going to make it thicker so it can withstand a bullet, but then you can't move. And mobility being kind of a big thing in any battle, whether it be hand-to-hand combat or you know, something like a modern war sort of thing. You would have to essentially. I don't know how effective, you know, obviously if you've played Modern Warfare 3 or maybe even some of the other ones, there's what they call Juggernaut armor, which is this armor that's a lot of Kevlar, which allows a person to, you know, take lots of shots and you know, it takes a lot of bullets to shred through the Kevlar Juggernaut armor. It obviously slows you down versus a regular soldier, but you're essentially giving up the speed for the ungodly defense, you know. I don't know how truly effective that stuff is in real life. It seems more like a video game thing, though I imagine it probably does have some use. I know I've seen it, and again, this is a fictional portrayal, but I've seen it used in sort of like a bomb squad sort of thing, where they're wearing some heavy Kevlar in case the bomb is of a certain caliber, that the suit might be able to take in a certain amount of scrap metal damage so that the person might survive. But at a certain, you know, at a point, you're sort of guessing how big or how strong the bomb is or how it's going to detonate, because like I said, it near point blank range, you know, I mean, you could be, I'm not really sure what to say. Like, you could be in a tank. If the bomb's big enough and strong enough, it's gonna shred the tank. You know, I know I'm sort of being vague there, and I'm not 100% sure how big that bomb would have to be to get through like a tank armor or what, but I don't know. I do think this, you know, life is always a bit, you know, warfare is always a bit of back and forth. You know, you have a weapon, okay, and you know, you try to come up with some defense against that weapon, okay, and so offensively speaking, you try to come up with an offensive alternative to defeat defense, and then it kind of goes back and forth, and you know, the pure offense, in a way, it's not great. You don't obviously want, you know, the perfect weapon that can shred any armor and can take out any enemy in a shot and be light and powerful and not have big kick. You know, the whole thing that goes along with, you know, weapons is you want the weapon that won't break, is light to use, is deadly to use, can penetrate, etc. And there's no real perfect weapon. You have this sword works in a really good way, but it's too short, so it loses to longer swords. However, this longer sword's harder to wield, but does give you the range. You know, so you go back and forth between those things. But the perfect defense, I have found to be far more devastating than the perfect offense, because the perfect offense is requiring you to continue to evolve, because you're trying to obtain the perfect balance of attack, weight, reliability, etc. And you know, the perfect defense is, does it protect you from said weapon? Is it light? you know, and those tend to be like the two big things, you know. With armor, does it protect? Yes. Is it light? Yes. Or no. You know, that's the question. If it doesn't protect, it doesn't matter how light or how heavy it is. It doesn't do. You immediately fail the prompt. If it's light but heavy, if it stops the weapon but it's heavy, then you have to ask yourself the question: is the weight worth the time that you're putting, you know, for this armor? Because inevitably your armor's going to have some sort of weakness, chink. Your arms have to move, your legs have to move, so there's probably a weak spot where the armor doesn't protect you. The weight, obviously, if there's too much weight, it ends up becoming moot because the enemy will find the weak point in your armor and stuff the weapon in there to injure you, hence defeating the purpose of the armor. So you want an armor that is first defensive and second light. But like I said, perfect defense, at least in terms of war, is far worse than the perfect offense, because when you have the perfect defense, you end up in a stalemate, because inevitably your opponent will also have access, maybe not initially, but quickly, access to this technology. And once they're able to reproduce, now you're at sort of a standstill, because, you know, your weapons are no longer effective against this defense. So you have to come up with an alternative workaround to defeating the armament system, you know, which inevitably happens. And so you have sort of that pendulum that swings back, back and forth between defense and offense. And then, you know, again, the idea that, you know, okay, this armor, we're going to institute this armor, it's going to save lives. It's like, okay, that's fine and dandy, but then you have to come up with an even more disgusting form of offense to counterattack it. Either, you know, some sort of like Kevlar shredding bullets, or you choose to just go completely around the armor and attack the body itself with chemical, biological weapons, you know. I mean, I know that's against the Geneva Convention. We don't generally, as humans, use these sorts of weapons against each other. I'm just saying, you know, how badly do you want to win? You know, push someone hard enough, push someone far enough. You know, your options are surrendering in humility, or doubling down on something that, you know, we as humans would find to be a war crime, inhuman is the word I'm looking for. But the reason I bring that up is I always kind of think about, in terms of World War I, you had what was trench warfare, which was a form of defense. It's not something that was brand new in World War I. But you had a defensive thing. It's technically machine gun was sort of, I wouldn't say finalized, but it had been improved to the point that it was very highly usable in that time period.
You stopped me, but our uprising will not die so easily.
And the machine gun was an offensive weapon. Obviously, it shot bullets and was meant to kill the enemy. But you didn't see people necessarily picking up the machine gun and running along the trench line. It was sort of a weapon that you placed down and you would shoot with, and like I said, it had sort of a defensive capability of keeping you from advancing. Cutscene.
Your Grace, Sir Leonard has arrived.
Leonard, here. Perhaps there is yet hope.
Yeah, except the fact that you've been arguing with him all the other cutscenes and basically making him look like a little piece of shit.
Apologies for not coming sooner. Not hanging from the parapet yet, I see.
That's a dark joke.
No, good friend. But that rebellious upstart would be the first to see me, so no doubt.
If he fails, the Buckram will have their chance soon enough. Rhyme has fallen.
What? Lena! But why?
Your grace bears too great a burden. Let me lighten your load.
I like the poetry there, but I feel like the dude completely forgot everything that happened up to this point.
Listen well. I want no needless bloodshed. Make a path out of the castle and drive out those who resist.
Sir!
Sir Leonard, what of the Duke?
All went according to plan, thanks to your effort.
Then the Duke is no more.
Yes, and all that remains is for you to join him.
The greatest heel turn in the whole game,
What?
right here.
What are you doing?
Something that would have been impossible were it not for you. You die, taking responsibility for both the revolt and the death of the Duke, and the resistance rallies to me. Truly, you have my undying gratitude, Denham.
You really think my death will accomplish so much?
How could it not? Death is the ultimate absolution, and you have much to atone for. Mostly my sins, but no matter. You've played your role. Rest. Your days of sacrificing heart and soul to the resistance are over.
Venom words! Don't listen to him! It's as Vice said. Leonard and the Duke are the same. Men drunk on power.
Respect, please. I am twice the man he was.
Rise, Denham! This is not your place to die. I forbid it!
I am sorry. You will live on in my heart.
Stand and fight, Denham. Have you forgotten your promise?
Again,
You, Vice? What are you doing here?
I don't know how many
Ah,
episodes
I
ago it was, but
Old friends
Denham
reunited.
or Vice
Very well.
screamed
You
that she
can
was
die
eventually going to
together.
kill me. And here he is in the castle coming to my defense. So. No. So. If we're strictly talking about Leonard, which this is sort of a one-on-one battle, but not really. This is a 4-on-1 battle.
Now to restore the resistance. Raise your sword, Denham.
So if Gashua gets knocked out, she retreats. If Denham obviously gets knocked out, he dies. Yeah, good game over. If Vice gets knocked out, he retreats with Aerosol, and if Aerosol gets knocked out, she dies. So she is like the only character you really want to kind of keep a note of for this mission.
I thought you different from all the rest, Leonard. But you love the nobility as much as they love themselves.
If the nobility can provide a fairer rule, then they have my devotion.
A fairer rule, under the same despots. You dream if you think the nobles will serve as their own headsmen.
You mistake me, Vice. If a man wants power, he must claim it for himself. No noble will do that for him, true. Yet most commons wait for such a man, a savior to put things to rights. Whence this savior then? Why not people like you, like me? The few who take up the sword to better their lot in life. They can be the next nobility, shepherds to the rest. And where the wrong in that? I know you desire change, but such is forged slowly, link by link, not made whole in the span of a night.
So, for this battle, I changed Kashua. I basically took away all of her stuff and made her a healer only.
What possible claim to virtue could you make over Denham's disgraced corpse?
I fear you lack sufficient dedication to understand. It is my dedication to a cause that trumps all such fleeting considerations. The man who wallows in sentiment accomplishes nothing. That is what it means to
So
bloody
Leonard's
your
doing a pretty
hands,
good job
boy.
revealing what I think his true heart is. He's not really, he's saying that he's not really loyal to any man or person or thing. He's loyal to his ideal, which I believe oh yeah,
Vice.
you get knocked out here.
Paracel. Thank you.
Oh no,
Our
he's still
paths
alive, I'm
crossed.
sorry.
By chance. That's all.
Fortunate for you that an even greater menace faces us both. I sheathe my hatred of you for the sake of the people, for now. Do not expect to find me so charitable next we meet.
Be that as it may, I still thank you.
But anyways, I think Leonard is interested, and I may have said this in a previous episode, he's interested in helping his people, the Wallisters. He may not be super interested in any other part of this war, but he wants to see the Wallisters at least return to freedom, and not be subjugated by the Galgastani. But I also have to wonder if his his ambitions don't go to the whole of Valeria as well,
As you
and
said,
whether or not he has sort of the leadership ability to get to the ending that we get to.
Denham!
Obviously, he's
value
not
my
aware
life
of
too much to throw
Kashua,
it away
but
here.
you know, sort
It's up
of
to
as
you
a
now.
leader figure
Live,
to get
so
to
that
the
Valeria
place
will
where he
know
can
what he's
unite
done.
the different factions in Valeria under one common kingdom. I don't know.
Leonard, put away your weapon. I do not wish to fight.
Still clinging to some hope of reconciliation, you simpering waif? No, I will strike without hesitation. If you wish to live, if you wish to change this world on your own terms, then slay me. Fail, and only the worms will remember you.
So the
You
other
leave
thing,
me no choice.
so the other thing about Leonard is I think he's very much, I wouldn't say a tactician, a tactical genius, but his strengths lie in the ability to look at the battlefield and see the advantages and disadvantages on the field and to use those to his advantage. And sort of like the art of war, not attack unless you are in a position where you have in some way the upper hand, whether that be numbers wise, technology speaking, morale wise, high ground, etc. As I was trying to say, I made Kashua healer only because on my first attempt at this stage, she either inadvertently or the computer intentionally attacked Vice, which made Vice and Aerosol hostile to Denham and Kashua and proceeded to basically knock them out of the battle. And then that put me at a disadvantage because now instead of it being the four of us versus Leonard, it became a 2v2v1. And basically between the three of them, they smushed the crap out of me and I had to restart the level. So she's only got healing magic on her. She does. I didn't even give her the ability to cast like a finisher.
It's over. Well fought, Denham.
So this is the actual truth here.
Tell our people,
Tell them this.
tell them this. It was my scheming brought us here.
Did you intend this all along?
Great question.
Either death, yours or mine, serves to unite the resistance. Though, in truth, I'd much rather it been yours. We harbor none of Vice's nobles or their pets now, do we? The new Wallister Alliance will join you. Welcome them. My eyes grow dark.
Eh.
My limbs numb. All
The Leonard
rests
is not
on you
exactly
have the
good
strength.
in this particular
You have
playthrough.
the
Obviously, his
strength.
plan was to unite the two warring factions against the Galgostani. In any way that he could, whether that meant the death or the leadership falling to either him or Denham. I'm not really sure how he could unite the new Wallister resistance under his banner. But, with Denham leading, obviously, I think there's more room for reconciliation, though it's not guaranteed at this point in the storyline.
Who can know
However,
if the path we choose is right or wrong? I will fear no reproach, for man is a creature of sorrow and fault, and ever will be.